Last week on the channel, we reported that George Lucas was rumored to be returning to Star Wars in some fashion. Folks, we may have a follow-up on that soon, but for today, we have news that might be even bigger. You clicked on the thumbnail, you clicked on the title, you know what this is about. Folks, we may be getting Luke Skywalker on the big screen real soon. Now, Disney and Lucasfilm have to wonder, will the fans even care? Will you come back? Hello folks and TGIF, what a beautiful day today on the channel. Two scoops ahoy! Of course, this morning we brought you the major news about the Rise program, and that is our first step in revealing what is going on with the Walt Disney Company and Rise. If you've not seen that video, you are missing out. It is one of the biggest discoveries, one of the biggest exposés we've ever done. And now, well folks, you clicked on the thumbnail, you clicked on the title, but unlike you, Lauren has no idea what we are about to talk about other than it's Star Wars. So Lauren, this is going to be a video that I think you'll enjoy, and I've been looking forward to giving you one like this for a very long time. We have had to trudge through some real muck when it comes to Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, Star Wars, and all of that. Folks, as we dive into this content, consider clicking the like button, and here we go. Lauren and I have had a source that has been close to the Mandalorian movie project and has been phenomenal in giving us information early. I want to be very careful as we do this video in not doing anything that could get this source in trouble. I also, folks, need to caution you that this video is strictly rumor and speculation, although you need to go check the track record to see if you want to believe what we have to say. But it's rumor and speculation because we are talking about a future project. Anything can change because this is not released yet. It's not even in production yet necessarily. So please consider that whatever we say here, they could decide they're not making the movie tomorrow. I mean, I think that would be extreme, but it is what it is. All right, as we get into this, Lauren, the source that is giving us this information mixes in what they're talking about with their own personal views. I'm going to relay those as best I can without using their own language because we don't want to connect this to their writing or speaking styles. But here's what we've got, Lauren. The Mandalorian movie is coming out, of course, in 2026, and that is a significant delay from when it was originally intended to come out. Jon Favreau is leading this as the director, although it has been handed to Dave Filoni to plus up the script, allegedly, and he is co-writer, and some believe that he will be credited with co-director as well. I'm not so sure about that, but there are some thoughts that he may. All of that said, the source says to me that this is Jon Favreau's big Star Wars movie. Whatever you might think, this is his chance to go out with a bang, and that Jon Favreau does not want to be embarrassed by this release. He does not want this to be a stain on his career. And so the source tells me to look back to what Favreau said originally when he came on board with Star Wars, telling Lucasfilm and Disney particularly that he thought that he could help. And he says that you can expect this movie to be returned to the quality of the first two seasons, but most importantly, Lauren, he says that you might even consider this to be a Luke Skywalker movie. The source tells me, Lauren, that the delay from 2025 to 2026 was largely because they did not believe that the level of Luke Skywalker that they want to use would be able to be completed in CGI with realistic appearance and all of that in the time frame that had been given. Favreau apparently realizes the reaction to Luke Skywalker from the second season, and he wants that again for the movie. The source goes to such a degree as to say that we might even expect a scene, although folks remember, this can be cut in the editing room. We don't know. It's the future, but the source says that he has knowledge. I don't know if he does or not. He says he has knowledge that there's even a scene where Luke Skywalker and Grogu, that's Baby Yoda, might join their force powers together in battling some dark enemy. Lauren, this may dramatically use Luke Skywalker more than I had ever thought. I was expecting a cameo. This may be Jon Favreau saying, I'm going to go with what works. And frankly, I got to tell you, Lauren, if I'm Hasbro and I hear this news, I'm ecstatic because there is nothing that is going to save the Star Wars toy line other than, I think, a cool Luke Skywalker brought back to do cool Luke Skywalker stuff. And I don't know, this is my own conjecture. I don't know if that's going to be enough for Star Wars fans to at least forgive Favreau and say, for the rest of Lucasfilm, we don't trust you, but for this movie and for what Favreau did with the first 2 seasons, we'll watch, and this will be our Luke, and we'll ignore the rest of the stuff. I don't know. Lauren, this is the first time you're hearing about this, and I've only heard about it for the past about 48 hours. What's your reaction to a movie that would be heavily inclusive of Luke Skywalker in the form many fans waited a very long time to see? Is it too late? Can it be done? Could it heal the wounds of Star Wars fans?
All depends on how they try to approach this. My first thought is I'll believe it when I see it. It's easy to say things,
I think
and I
you've earned
think
that. I think you're speaking on behalf of many Star Wars fans, Lauren. That is an honest response.
I think Disney is in a position now where they're saying a lot of things because they want to have some type of positive feeling associated with them. And I think they're trying to show the public, see, we're changing. It's like I don't trust that. I want to see what they want to do. My second thought is I don't know how the rest of the fan base feels. My suspicion has been that Favreau has not really been responsible for what's happened with the Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan and
That's
the
been what
third.
I've thought as well, Lauren. That's my inclination. It's hard for me to imagine Favreau putting out stuff that was that bad.
It's difficult to square his other accomplishments with the quality of those shows. Now, that doesn't mean that he wasn't responsible for them. I don't think that we really know for sure, but it doesn't square with what I expect out of Jon Favreau. Now, if Favreau does have some creative control, if he is able to overrule Dave Filoni, which by their positions on the org chart he is not,
Lauren,
but
let me interject this then, and I don't mean to interrupt you repeatedly. I apologize, but importantly, one of the things the source has told me is that while Filoni has, what would you say here? While Filoni can exert tremendous power in his position, Favreau ultimately is the man who will determine the final edit. He's the director. He gets the say on the where the scenes are cut, how it's ordered, all of that. And that's why this source is optimistic that this might actually be a really good movie.
so this leads to some of my other thoughts then, which is that he had season 4 supposedly written, and that's now been scrapped. So I'm wondering how much of what this movie is going to be material that is repurposed from his season 4 writings and whether or not they just tossed whatever he had and they're starting over from scratch. The other thing, and I think this is important when you're talking about a rumor like this, is don't get me wrong. I think their treatment of Luke generally speaking, has been poor at Lucasfilm. They have not wanted to use him. When they do use him, they use him to get people excited, and then they put him back in the closet. I don't want to see the Mandalorian become the Luke show. I want the Mandalorian to be the Mandalorian. Now, if you're going to bring in Luke, that's fine, as long as you're planning to do something else with him. So I want to know, besides the fact that you're saying that Luke is going to play a significant role in this, what does that mean for the future? Is he going to continue to play a role? Are they going to show us the building of the new Jedi Academy? Are they going to discard the idea that that academy gets destroyed and Ben Solo goes to the dark side? Are they going to throw that out? I don't think that's likely. So if you're still going to end up at the sequel trilogy, I don't think it ultimately helps. That's the cancer that is causing them all of these problems. And until they get through their thick skulls that you cannot show us that endpoint, it's not going to fix things.
So let me ask you this, Lauren, because this is what I'm thinking based on what I've been told. This is my own conjecture, but I very much wonder if Jon Favreau came in, had tremendous success. Essentially, folks, I mean, we're not overselling this. The Mandalorian saved Disney Plus out of the get-go. I mean, The Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2 put Disney Plus in contention to one day overtake Netflix. That's clearly gone. Jon Favreau has watched them destroy his plans. And I wonder, Lauren, if this is not his opportunity to say, look, this is what works. I'm going to put this out into the market. I'm going to show you that a heroic Luke Skywalker is just as successful as if you own the Batman franchise and you put out a movie with a heroic Batman. It's that common sense, and I'm going to show that to you and put that on display and then force your hand down the road, but I'm out. Because I really do, Lauren, I just can't imagine that Favreau wants to stick around much longer unless there's tremendous change at Lucasfilm and Disney, especially given what we're finding out about this Rise program that we talked about this morning. But Lauren, the other thing too I would say is that if you're Favreau, you want to finish what you started. And what you started was, guys, I think I can lead you in a better direction. I think this is him. Well, I think it's probably the end of the Mandalorian story. I don't think that it's going to continue on I don't see season 4 happening a year later or season 5. I think this is it. I think this is the culmination of that storyline. And then Filoni wants to go with the Ahsoka stuff and Thrawn, and that'll be movies, supposedly. But I think this is Favreau's send off to the fans. I really, based on what the sources say, and I think Favreau really wants to do well with the fans and say, in his own way, without verbalizing this, I'm not in control of Star Wars, but this is what I wish I could give you. And we'll see what happens. And I could be totally off track. Then they may force him to cut, huge parts of Luke. I don't know. We're talking about a future project. Lauren, if they did bring in Luke, what would you like to see with a genuinely heroic Luke Skywalker brought back on the big screen, maybe for a final time? What would you like to see?
It's the same thing that they did in the season finale of season 2. What makes Luke a compelling character is that, yeah, he's brash and he's somebody that's impulsive. That's why Obi-Wan and Yoda had a problem with him. But ultimately, he goes to help his friends. He's the guy that arrives to save the day. When somebody calls for help, Luke is going to go. And that's why you get excited when you see him show up on screen, because he's the guy that's going to be there for you no matter what. And I think you have to show that. You cannot. Where they went wrong with Luke was showing him as a guy who had lost hope, who had lost belief, who had lost faith, and had become this grumpy old man who didn't care about things anymore. And that's not Luke. That's never been Luke, and it will never be Luke. And until you get that characterization right, you show him building a successful Jedi Academy. Yes, there can be missteps, like with Gantoris when he first brings his students together in the Jedi Academy trilogy. There can be things like encounters with Exar Kun and things like that. You're not going to get everything right, but that doesn't mean you give up. You kind of have to remember the speech from Rocky Balboa when he's talking to his son. It says it's not. Yeah, I mean, that's what you want out of Luke, is somebody that no matter what, he doesn't give up. And
Lord,
that's what they have to show.
They failed to understand. So Rian Johnson failed in many ways. We could, there will be books written about all the ways he failed and the many billions of dollars lost because of it. Same with Kathleen Kennedy. But Lauren, one of the key failures that they made was they misunderstood who Luke is. And you've just identified that. Luke is not just a typical movie character. Luke is an archetype. And as an archetype, you can't mess with the archetype, or else you utterly change what's being represented by that character, right? He's the personification of going to help friends, right? He's the personification of innocence turned into maturity, and the maturity recognizes the evil within and how you must overcome the evil within, and therefore, or thereby you can redeem and save your friends and your father and everything else, but only if you master the demons inside, which absolutely do exist. Now, that's a major archetype. And when the demons overtake Luke in The Last Jedi, when that's the message, then, I mean, you talk about a depressing state to put an audience in. So we know that's where it will go. I can't imagine that Favreau will touch the sequel trilogy in this. But it does set the stage, I think, for an interesting possible future where Lucasfilm will have much to deal with. If they bring in Luke to this as a significant player, and if it does extremely well, they're going to have pressure from shareholders, from toy sales, all of that to say, don't kill us anymore. We have to have Luke. It's like having Batman and Batman. We got to have Luke. Lauren, I don't know how they would do that going into the Thrawn stuff.
Well,
I just don't know how they would navigate it.
There's a couple things that I would say about that. I do think this is interesting, and I don't want to belabor the point too much. One of the counterpoints I was going to bring up is they're still putting the Acolyte out. They're supposedly still working on the Rey movie. So this is one of the reasons I'm awfully skeptical about their supposedly changing their spots. But on the other hand, Hangry Table brought up yesterday that Hot Toys is bringing out a Dark Empire premium statue Luke character and was asking me about it in our back channels. While I was looking at that, I also noticed, I don't know if this is new. I think it might be, or I just hadn't seen it, but Hasbro Pulse is doing a 4-pack of the Heir to the Empire trilogy characters. They've got Luke.
Lauren, were you in the video where I talked about that Lucasfilm was going to relinquish on their third-party partners and let them? We're seeing it across the board now.
I do notice that they're reaching in and producing some EU stuff because obviously that's something that sells, or at least it provides a data point to them where they can try to make the argument of whether it sells or not. I don't know what it is that they're trying to do there. They're obviously trying to change their image a little bit. But again, until you actually start scrapping some things like the Acolyte, like the Rey movie, like honestly, the sequel trilogy, because again, that's where the cancer is. If we already know where this ends up, and if you refuse to let up on that endpoint, nothing you do will fix this. The only way you can do that is you're going to have to scrap it. You're going to have to admit this didn't work. We have to forge some kind of new future.
Well, I totally agree. You cannot continue forward with the sequel trilogy being canon. It will never work. But you might get a reprieve from someone like Favreau who says, "See," and we can all say, "Told you so." So I'll be interested in seeing that. I have no idea if they keep the sequel trilogy, how they will. And by the way, I don't think they're going to get rid of it. I'm not optimistic about Disney overall. I am more hopeful than I was in the past that Favreau is going to show them what could have been. I think that's the best we can hope for right now, unless there is tremendous change at Lucasfilm. And I'm talking about half the people have to leave because it's a cesspool. It's an utter cesspool of vitriol towards the fans and towards the original Star Wars. It's been filled with ideologues, and that's what we are seeing in Disney. And how in the world somebody like Bob Iger could clean house? I don't think he has the interest in doing so. I think Disney is in a place of despair. But I hope that Jon Favreau can give us one last good time with Luke Skywalker. And for that 90 minutes to 2 hours, we can sit back and say, that's the Luke we wanted. We'll close our eyes and ignore the rest of it. And we can all maybe part on good terms and say, all right, I'm done with Star Wars. I don't know. Maybe I'm too negative. Lauren, I'll give you the final word on all of it.
No, I mean, I think my take on it would be hope for the best, but expect the worst, because that's all that they've been willing to give us. I will believe it when I see it, and even then, I'll probably still have some things to grumble about. So all we can do is wait and see, I guess.
That's right. Who knows, Lauren? We may go to the theater together. I think Coach and Nick of EBN are they have me down for I have to go watch the Rey movie with them. So we're going to torture ourselves. Maybe you and I can go to the theater and see Luke's return if that's what happens. And folks, apologies if we get this one wrong. We're doing our very best with a source that has been right over and over. But again, we're talking about a movie that is more than 2 years away. And that means things can change. And who knows, they may delay it again. You just never know. But we wanted to bring this to you. I also want to assure folks out there that we gave one potential scene in a very vague way. We're not here to spoil the movie for you. Even if I get stuff that would spoil the movie, I would be very hesitant to release it unless it's very newsworthy. I don't believe typically in spoiling what's going to happen in a movie because I think that takes away the magic of those who would enjoy it. So we don't do that. Well, folks, you can check out Lauren Connor not only on his YouTube channel, but also on the Genre Guys. And the Genre Guys is fantastic content. It is member exclusive on this channel for about 2 months. And then those Genre Guy episodes, they go to T3PO, That Park Place Podcasts Online, where they are ad-based shows for you to watch. You got to watch the commercials, which you don't have to do if you're a member here. And they're 2 months older, but they're over there. And folks, we've got those episodes coming out. If you're not yet subscribed to T3PO, you definitely need to go over there and get subscribed right away. All right, folks, it's now your turn. Like, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms, hit the notification bell, and drop a comment down below. I know many of you already have, and I would love to hear your thoughts because this is a tricky one. Most of us like Favreau, I think. Many of us want to see a good heroic Luke and see what that would do to the market. But we have very little hope that Star Wars will give us a new hope and get rid of the sequel trilogy. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing on this beautiful Friday, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
I just found out how to get WDW Pro's information, where he gets his sources. I can't believe he uses. Wilton!
What?
We got a job to do. It's easy to hack into WDW Pro's computer.
You're kidding me. That's awesome. You know any other stuff?
Yeah, just Jonas Campbell told me.
Sweet.
Said Pro underpaid him or something.
A few minutes later.
There. Oh, awesome. Whatever. All I gotta do is
Whoa.
hack into this thing. It's gonna be so easy.
Yeah, this isn't a
Alright,
hack.
grab this picture over here.
Leave it to me.
Oh, no. Oh, Wilson.
Job done. What?
No, all we had to do was use the picture because he uses face unlock. Now we gotta go to thatparplace.com and sub to him and his team on YouTube.
Oh, well, I already did that because I'm smart.